Welcome back to Fast Forward Football on Campus Insiders with our managing editor Pete Futek and our analyst Anthony Herron. Gentlemen, today in honor of this past President's Day, your answer is not just going to go viral here. We're going to get a chisel out. We're going to carve these names and the faces into the side of a mountain. Specifically, what we want to know, your Mount Rushmore of college football coaches. Ant, let's start with you. Who's on your mountain?
Well, we picked 4 coaches apiece, and so my 4 starts with a man who makes obvious sense. You got to talk about Nick Saban, 4 national championships. Then I move on to Urban Meyer. Now, one that's going to surprise you is Chris Petersen is on my Mount Rushmore of coaches, and then, of course, the old ball coach, Steve Spurrier. There may be some similarities on your list.
Exactly. Now, we're talking active coaches here. We're not talking about the all-timer of Mount Rushmore coaches. I've got the same as you. I've got 4. I wanted to put 6, but the man, Ryan Petersen, would not let me put 6 on there. You win a national championship, you get on my mountain. I'm going to put a plaque down there for Les Miles and for Mac Brown, but I'm going to go with Saban and Urban Meyer and Steve Spurrier. I'm going to put Bob Stoops up there. He's got a national championship. Yeah, it was eons ago, but also they've been so great in Big 12 play. Year after year after year, they're winning Big 12 championships, or at least in the hunt. Stoops gets on my mountain too, but you could put Les Miles up there. Again, Mac Brown, can't argue too much with, but those are my 4.
All right, let's talk about who's not on the Mount Rushmore. One guy's Les Miles, more wins than anybody else, it seems like, plus a national championship. Why is the Mad Hatter not on your list?
Well, to me, there's a perception that he lucks into some of these victories. He's not really known as a great statistician. Statistician,
nice.
I'm going to make up a word there. Exactly. But he's
that's
not known as a great strategist. Yes, it is. Actually, that's my homage to the Mad Hatter. But he's not known as a guy who strategically manages the game at a high level as a head coach. And so when you're kind of seen in that light, then for me, especially when you're narrowing it down to the 4 best active coaches in college football, I move a couple of other guys ahead of Les Miles, even though he has a national championship.
To me, flip a coin. You could put him on there. You can't really argue. I put Steve Spurrier on instead only because what he did to take South Carolina to a whole other level and the national championship at Florida, that kind of put him on there. Les Miles, though, yeah, you can't really argue with him too much.
All right, so I think everybody in America can justify the arguments for the guys you mentioned, but Ant, you even mentioned it, a little bit of a surprise there with Chris Petersen at Boise State. Yes, he's won 2 Fiesta Bowls, got him there, but the last 2 appearances have been the Mako Car Bowl, I believe, in Las Vegas. Right. So make an argument for Chris Petersen over guys like Bill Snyder or Mac Brown.
He's been in Boise, Idaho since 2006, and there is no other coach in college football with a higher winning percentage than Chris Petersen. Over 90% of his games he's won so far, and he's had opportunities to go to other universities. And so for me, I'm not just looking at the results on the field, which are astounding, but intangibly, as a head coach, what he's done for that program, what he's done to sustain them at a high level of play, at a level of respect, where now Boise State can lose a game or 2 and still finish in the national rankings. And the talent level that's there, they're not just this cute team that runs a flea flicker or does a Statue of Liberty play. On the line of scrimmage, there's talent there that can match up with any team in the country. So for what he's turned that program into and the sustainability that they now have, I put Chris Petersen on mine.
It's not like they're getting away with a ton of cheap wins, too. I mean, they're beating some good teams along the way. Every single year, they're beating a BCS caliber team. They didn't do it last year, losing to Michigan State, but they're beating a Georgia here. They beat my guy, Bob Stoops, obviously, in that famous Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, Virginia Tech. I mean,
they win these big, giant games. So, again, like you alluded to, what they're doing every year, it's almost commonplace now. 10 wins is the norm. It's 11 or 12 wins is really what they're shooting for every year, and they can do it now.
And, guys, he stayed there. He's not saying I have to leave Boise to prove myself to anyone else. Other programs want him because he's so good, and he has stayed put. I respect that.
All right, a tough argument. So many great coaches, and we only gave you 4
Give us 6, Ryan. We got the budget. We got the money. We're big time now.
I could have went 2 if you want.
That's right. We can do it. We'll just take our hammer and chisel and fire away. Guys, thanks very much. We appreciate the insight. Well, you can't get enough college football. Check back this week for Pete and Ant's biggest storylines of spring ball only on CampusInsiders.com.